Thank you very much, Abby. I cannot thank you enough. And Abby is actually joining us from London, England tonight. And in England, it's almost midnight. So it tells you the level of commitment that our board of directors actually have to this cause. And I just also want to thank you for just a wonderful way, very kind way that you have introduced me. And if I didn't know any better myself, I would think that everything we're doing here is because of me, but that absolutely could not be further from the truth. I wanted to maybe introduce you a little bit to the concept that Abby was talking about earlier, this idea of to whom much is given, much is required. I think this is important because I always like to start with the why. Why in the world would I be spending my time, most of the time, all of my weekend, doing this? But it really comes down to my Christian faith, right? That when you have been blessed, you too have to bless another. If I were to look back to my beginning, which was a very humble beginning, and I look at where I am today, I am not rich by any means, but on a relative term, I am extremely blessed. And it's only my privilege then to be able to extend the blessing that I have to another. And the way I'm doing that is not only spending my time and energy, my skill set, but I also put my money into the foundation. So the pledge that I have made, and I'm living up to that pledge, is to devote up to 10% of my own income into the cause. Well, that together with the volunteers that we have in the foundation allows us then to donate, to use 100% of public donation that goes to actually helping people with vision care. And so that is the reason why this is important to me from a personal point of view. You can also see I'm wearing a pair of glasses. What we're talking about today is vision impairment. And if I was still living in Africa, I may not be able to afford this pair of glasses I'm wearing. And if I'm not able to afford this pair of glasses I'm wearing, I will not be able to drive. And if I'm not able to drive, I probably won't be able to have the job I have today. I also have 2 of my 3 children that have the same type of issue. They have to wear a pair of glasses. So that's my personal why. That's why this is important to me. And on the next slide, what I wanted to do is just maybe introduce you a little bit. You already know about the foundation. We're 501c3, so contributions to the foundation are, of course, fully tax deductible to the extent allowable by law. But we were only founded in 2021, right? And since that point of view, since the point that we've been founded, we've been very fortunate to have a lot of really kind people join us in the work and really help us progress the work, right? And so our vision is really to restore vision for people that otherwise are not able to see. And that's a pretty big problem. If you look at it on the next slide, you will see that when you talk about vision impairment, it's something that is very global and is also something that is very local, right? And so we are obsessed with creating a world, therefore, where your ability to enjoy the gift of sight is not determined by your zip code. It's not determined by the color of your skin. When you look at the problem today, actually, your ability to see in this world today is largely determined by your zip code. It's largely determined by where you live. Because if you live in Africa versus living in America, or if you live in some part of Asia Pacific, it's a different story, right? And so we want to change that. We want to create a world where you can enjoy the gift of sight regardless of where you live. And again, so on the next slide, what I wanted to do very quickly then is what kind of a problem are we talking about? Well, you have about 2.2 billion people globally that have visual impairment, right? That's a huge number. That's like 1 out of every 4 person, have visual impairment. What is more alarming is that over half of that number are found in developing countries. Developing countries like Nigeria, where I was born. And then when you look at that, over 1 billion people with visual impairment that are found in developing countries, close to 80% of that are easily addressable. But here's the sad part. They're not being addressed because of poverty. And so people go blind for things that can easily be addressed because they don't have funds to be able to address that. So on the next slide, then you see from a scale of magnitude of the breakdown of this, you find that significant portion of blindness is actually driven by, cataract, right? You have cataract, which represents about 10% of the total, incidence of the disease. Refractive error, which is, things requiring the use of glasses, or you can actually do corrective surgery for refractive error. People don't do that because it's going to be it doesn't make sense if you can use a simple pair of glasses. But you have other things like glaucoma, you have things that are, more specific to places like Africa, like what your typical river blindness, stuff like that are more regionally based. But when you put it all together, the two most driver of visual impairment are refractive error and cataract. And so as a foundation, those are the two areas that we've decided to focus on. And between those two, we feel like we can address close to 90% of the problem globally. And on the next slide, you can see, if you just put things in perspective from specifically looking at cataract, there are 5 million people that are blind from cataract annually, every year. 5 million people go blind from cataract. To put that in perspective, it's about 51% of total blindness globally. And that's about putting people in 70 American football stadium every year. And you gather as many people to fill 70 American football stadium, and you tell them you're gonna go home and get blind because you have cataract. That doesn't sound right? But that's exactly what happened. For something that can easily be treatable for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, you can have a resection of your cataract and you're back on the road, but it's not happening. So that's why this is important to us. On the next slide, you can also see from a refractive error point of view, you can see that that's a serious amount of people that are impacted by this globally, 800 million people. They represent about almost 50% of visual impairment globally is driven by refractive error. And then if you just think about, and this is not talking about refractive error, the last one at the bottom, the 8 times more blind in sub-Saharan Africa, that's just total blindness. If you look at the rate that people are going blind globally, in sub-Saharan Africa, you have 8 times more versus countries like the United States. What is the reason for that? Again, it's because of poverty, it's because of lack of access for things that can easily be addressed by $100 or less. On the next slide, you can see that if you bring it down to Africa, and Africa is important to us because that's where I was born, and I know Africa. So that's where the work actually has started. But our vision is global. We're not just interested in the continent of Africa. We're interested in every developing countries of the world. But you can see what's happening here, that from a blind population point of view, Africa houses almost 20% of the blind people globally. And you have 8 times more blind people, like we talked about in sub-Saharan Africa versus the West, right? 80% of this blindness can easily be cured. And then when you look at Asia and Africa together, they represent about 75% of world blind children. That's why we're really so passionate about addressing this. The way we're doing it is different. We're trying to go at this in a way that is scalable, because a lot of the foundation will put people together in America. They put 5 or 6 people together every year and go to some country and spend a week there or 2 weeks there. They go home, pack it up till next year. We don't want to do that because we don't think we can reach as many people as possible. We want to work with local people that have the expertise, that have the logistics, so that they are able to reach the patient, they are able to have continuity of care, and we are able to replicate in multiple countries at the same time. And that's exactly what we've done. So today we operate in Nigeria, we operate in Cameroon, and you will have a chance to meet one of our panelists today who actually it's from one of our partners in Nigeria. So in the next slide, then you can see from the point of view of the recognition of this problem, the United Nations actually recognizes this is a serious problem now. And if you look at the July 2021 resolution they now have placed vision for everyone as a target in the Sustainable Development Goal, right? And the idea is to get to 1 billion people with vision impairment who currently have no access by 2030. We want to play a very important role in helping to achieve this goal. And on the next slide, then, you can see that when we say that every eye deserves to see, we recognize that the problem is big. And I love this quote from Mother Teresa because it says, we ourselves feel that what we are doing is just a drop in the ocean, but the ocean will be less because of missing that drop. You know, the 7-year-old I was talking about in Cameroon, she would not be going to school. She would not have a life today if that drop in the ocean isn't there. The video you saw earlier of Gift, who was completely blind for 4 years, now she has her life back. She would not be there if that drop of the ocean isn't there. The patients that you're going to meet later on that we had an interview with, their life will not be changed the way they have been changed if that drop of the ocean isn't there. And that's why I just feel like, even though we've only helped close to 6,000 people since we started in 2021, there's a lot more people to help. But I'm really glad that we have the opportunity to do that. And I'm really looking forward to be able to help many more people. And on the next slide, I just want to spend a couple more slides real quickly, just to acknowledge the people that have supported us. Here you can see recognitions that we get even outside of the foundation. This is a recognition that comes from a corporation in America called Candid. You know, they are a transparency organization that you provide transparency and they give you some recognition for it. And so within 12 months of our incorporation, we received platinum transparency for 2022, which is the highest level that you can get from GuideStar. That's something we're very proud about. And we're able to do that because of you, because of all of you, because of our supporters. And on the next slide, I just wanted to take a minute just to say thank you to our board of directors. These are the people that are behind the work that we do. The reason why I'm so passionate about this is because of the commitment of these people, and I cannot thank them enough. And on the next slide, then you can see that from organizations that are also supporting us, you know, either from corporate sponsorship or donating money to us or giving us resources that we need to be successful, to partners that we have on the ground in Africa, you know, one of which is Eye Foundation Hospital that is represented here today. We're very grateful for these organizations for supporting the work that we do. If you ever think that, you know, a small group of people are not able to make a huge difference, those are the only group of people actually that make a difference in the world. And I just feel so fortunate that because of you, because of our supporters, we can make a difference in the lives of people that literally are not able to help themselves. And I cannot just be more grateful for that. So on that note, I will stop my monologue there, and I'd like to invite our distinguished panelists to join us for a quick panel discussion.